But first, our top story, Starlink, Elon Musk's satellite venture, is poised to launch operations in India after securing partnerships with Bharti Airtel and Reliance Jio. Pending regulatory approval, this promises high-speed internet to remote areas, bridging the digital divide with speeds up to 200 Mbps. Costs could be steep. If you're wondering how Starlink works, I'll try and explain it to you. Starlink works through a constellation of low Earth orbit satellites. Low Earth orbit satellites which have already been deployed to provide global coverage. The satellites beam internet signals to Starlink dishes on the ground, enabling connectivity. Now, a small dish at the user's location, similar to what you see over there, receives signals and connects to devices via Wi-Fi. There's something called low latency delivery. Now, that's important. We need to understand what that is. In other words, operating in the low Earth orbit, these satellites reduce signal delay, offering fast internet even in remote areas. And I can tell you, in having covered the Ukraine crisis on 3 occasions, that on every occasion, including live broadcasts, we used Starlink, which is the only service which is available, and we were broadcasting to you from across the country, a war-hit country, right, using Starlink. So it clearly does work. Well, we're going to bring our panelists on right now. They've been tracking the technology very, very closely. It is fairly exciting times for the sector, the telecom sector in India. Joining us now, Gaurav Chaudhary, our technical guruji, Varun Gupta, Jiten Jain, and Anil Kumar. Thank you all very much for being with us. Gaurav, let me come to you first. Basic question, how much will it cost?
Okay, pretty excited, to be honest, for Starlink to begin with. Considering the cost in the US, the base plan for Starlink goes for $80 a month. Now, if you just translate that to Indian currency, I don't think it would be that expensive. Given the broadband that we have right now coming in from both Jio and Airtel, the max plans go for as high as 4,000 rupees a month. So add in maybe a little bit more, but you cannot really convert those US pricing. I would see in India, it has to be a bit more competitive. So I think, let's say 6,000-7,000 rupees a month should be the max cap.
Varun, how will this model work in India? We've already seen a great deal of internet penetration in India. BSNL does a great job in some of the more remote parts of our country, and they do it at a price point which seems to work. How will Starlink compete with that?
Right, Vishnu. So I think on the pricing side, I believe that since TRAI and DOT are finalizing the recommendations on the pricing, we don't feel that it is going to be very steep, because that will deter the adoption in that case. And the same connotation was also there for the FWA services, which were recently made live in India a year back by Jio. And they have able to price it down at par with the fiber plans. So I feel that in terms of the pricing is going to be slightly higher than the existing FWA and fiber plans. However, it's not going to be very steep in interest of the consumers. And with the access that Jio and Airtel has with a large consumer base, I think Starlink has struck a good deal over here. They will get a large market access. And with that, Jio will be able to subsidize some of the costing over there, at least on the equipment side, which is a very high upfront cost for the user. So with the FW also, they've been able to do that. And I believe that with the current Starlink system also, they will be able to do it.
Jiten, SpaceX is, in fact, Starlink is awaiting final security clearances. Do you believe that Starlink can launch by mid-2025? There are regulatory proceedings as well. What could some of the concerns be?
No, honestly speaking, if Donald Trump was not the president, probably it could have taken another 3 years. But since now Donald Trump is the president and Elon Musk is the go-to man, you will find every leader across the world, every economy is welcoming Starlink with open hands. You saw, the Bangladeshi Prime Minister or the Chief Advisor, Mohammad Yunus, making an offer to Elon Musk to come and launch Starlink within 3 months. So I think for Elon Musk, this is going to be a golden run for his companies across the world. 2, there is going to be obviously a challenge. The price point which Gaurav was talking about, the $100, is basically for 20 Mbps. Today, if you look in Delhi or any other metro cities, 200 Mbps, speeds for Airtel, Jio, or Excitel, like normal companies, are available for 300 to 400, 500 rupees. So comparing that price point of 20 Mbps to 100 Mbps or 600 rupees is going to be very challenging for Starlink. And if you want to compare the 200 Mbps plan, what Jio and others are offering, then it might go up to almost $200. So there is 3 times pricing, but yes, obviously there are advantages of mobility. You can take that device and go to any house, go to garden, take it in a car. So it is, in urban cities, it is going to be a fashion to have a Starlink internet. In rural areas, I think it is our own mistakes that big companies like Jio or even BSNL have not been able to provide high-speed connectivity even 10 kilometers outside the outskirts of cities. I come from the state of Rajasthan. In cities like Bikaner, if you just travel even 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers outside city, there are hardly any internet service providers available except for BSNL, and that is also not a line more than 4 to 5 Mbps download speed. So I think Starlink, with the help of Airtel, might come in India as a tsunami, especially in the rural areas where people have affordability to buy internet and they're not getting it. In urban cities, I think it is going to be reversed. Starlink is going to face a huge challenge from middle class consumers. For rich people, I think it is going to be a fashion and they'll go for it even if it is $125, $150.
Gaurav, one of the big problems that we face inside our cities is very often inside colonies, the lack of connectivity. You don't get a signal. If hypothetically people were to install a small dish on top of their homes, like we install Tata Sky or Airtel or what have you to watch television, then would that problem be resolved?
I mean, definitely, because in tight clusters, sometimes network is a big deal. But with Starlink, you just need to have a clear sight towards the sky. So you can just place the dish maybe outside your window, in the balcony, on the rooftop. And once you have a clear line of sight with the sky, with the satellite network, you will get a good connection. And also, what I feel is that it's not just for data, but could also be used for voice calls. Now that we have voice over Wi-Fi and voice over LTE, I mean, although there's some latency, but it's not much. So maybe in remote areas, maybe in congested areas, Starlink could also be used not just for data, but also for voice calls.
Mr. Kumar, both Jio and Airtel, who are competitors with one another, have gotten into an agreement with Starlink, with Elon Musk. How does that work?
They are, I think, open to selling all their products on the same counter. Okay, if somebody likes X, the customer will buy X. Somebody will buy Y. They have the choice. So the counter is there. The fixed cost is there. The customers will come and they will like Starlink. They will choose that. They will like Airtel's OneWeb. They will choose that, or Jio's. They also have SCSC. That also they will. They'll have all the choice. For example, Reliance, they have Campa-Cola. Okay, this is their own brand. On the other hand, in the same showroom, in the Reliance Jio retail shops, they sell Pepsi and other drinks also. So they are treating it in the same fashion, that on the same counter, multiple products can be offered of different companies.
Okay.
So one can be their own product and the other can be for Starlink, or even they will be selling Jio, Airtel also. This kind of thing, arrangement is, I think, evolving. There is a change. Earlier,
Sure.
These people only, they were opposing Starlink entry. They were putting a lot of hurdle. Now they are welcoming them. This is a signal for them.
Jitin, go ahead.
Vishnu, there are 3 things we must keep in mind in terms of our national security. Starlink today is present in 125 countries. Even in US, even Amazon and other companies or Microsoft, which wanted to launch low orbit satellites and the similar services on satellite-enabled internet, have not been able to compete with Elon Musk. 2, Elon made an interesting tweet day before, and which is factually true also, that if he was to switch off Starlink, the entire Ukraine front line would collapse within 24 hours.
Yes.
And it is true.
Yes, absolutely.
Going forward, a dominant operator which has got presence in 130, 40 countries, Starlink is going to be the new social media challenge of our coming decade. Initially 10 years ago, we saw the great advantage of social media, how we were connecting with friends and families. Then these came political trolls, abusing misinformation, and then came the regulatory challenge in terms of national security and espionage. Same with Starlink. Initially, we can all celebrate about the connectivities to rural areas, mobile internet, telemedicines, education, and all. But very soon we are going to see a huge reliance on these companies, and I don't think Reliance or other companies today, which are also experimenting with the satellites, are in a position to come up with a very stable product even in 3 to 4 years. And even if they come, Elon Musk has got a bigger pocket than Reliance to offer free or subsidized internet. Third, once the dependence happens, when the dependency on other services and ATMs, internet, and all those financial sector, telecom sector happens, then you will see a humongous challenge of regulatory challenges to come in. These companies will not easily comply with your laws. Today it is Elon Musk, tomorrow it may be someone else. So I think we were right to delay Starlink to an extent what we could do to take care of our national security concerns. But I hope that this time we have burnt our fingers with social media. In fact, we have burnt all our 10 times with social media companies. With Starlink, we must proceed with great caution, great regulation, and at the same time, we must welcome any great innovation.
Varun, when it comes to the technology, we've made certain starts in terms of our own IRNSS, which is our own Indian regional navigation system. It's primarily for military purposes. But the goal is again to have a constellation of satellites which replaces GPS, because we ran into national security issues way back from the Kargil war onwards. What stops an Indian telecom company from actually having small satellites across a constellation which at least serve the subcontinent, our country, India? We have excellent space launch facilities. ISRO's mastered the art of deploying small satellites, which is what these are. Why could this not be a feasible option?
Right, Vishnu. So I think, of course, it is feasible. But right now, when we look at the market here in India, it's a very price-sensitive market when it comes to the services. So you look at the mobile plans; they are very cheap. It starts at like $7 or $8 per month. And when we compare it with counterparts across the globe, wherein in US the mobile prices are priced at $40, the internet fiber plans are also priced at about $50 to $60. So there are a lot of large, investments that are required by these companies to offer certain services here in India. Of course, they can do it, and they have the expertise also to do it. But I believe that they are delaying it so that the market matures enough for that demand to cater in, and then they can deploy these services. So for now, I think fiber and the FWA coupled with that, it's doing a good job. In fact, Reliance have added about 5 million subscribers in 1 year for FWA, which is the highest across the globe. And we believe that for 80 to 90% of India, which is the landmass, not talking about the high terrain areas, it will be easily serviceable with the current fiber and as well as the FWA services. And for those underserved area, I think this Starlink's broadband, and in the future we hope that Jio and Airtel also come up with this kind of service. They could serve the underserved area. That could boost the local economy, especially when we look at now a lot of startups are also coming up from very remote places. So this could actually help them, because internet is a fuel that is required by any business ecosystem in today's date. So this will definitely help that local ecosystem. But for rest of the India, the existing services pushed over and also given a good quality of service on that part. So I think that could exceed the digital divide that is there right now.
Gaurav, could this be used for streaming video on aircraft, on airlines?
Yes. Totally. I'll tell you my personal experience. I was flying to Barcelona in Qatar Airways, and Qatar Airways has few of its aircrafts now fitted with Starlink. And all throughout that flight, I was getting roughly 250 Mbps download speeds. Now, it's a rare sight, even if you're in a hotel or if you're roaming, to get that kind of a speed. Yeah. But I was able to download videos, I was able to upload a few files and all that while I was cruising at 4,000 feet. So I think in India, now that we have in-flight Wi-Fi, going ahead, if we have these aircrafts fitted with the Starlink's technology and they have a deal with Jio or Airtel on a commercial basis, we might have high-speed internet while taking flights as well. And pretty useful, super high speed, and really efficient that way.
Gaurav, that's almost inevitable, isn't it? 5 or 6 years from now, given our dependence to data in whichever form we use it, it just seems inevitable that you'd have truly high-speed internet access on planes. It's difficult right now. I mean, I've been flying extensively over the last couple of months. It's often difficult to connect. Even when you connect, it's patchy. Depending on what whether you're willing to pay or you're willing to pay less, the amount of data you have access to is limited. There are parts of the world you fly over Russia, nothing happens. Doesn't work. So therefore, that's going to change, right? That's my question.
Exactly. And I think with things like Starlink coming in, we have a strong 5G network altogether. Fiber is there. So I think data would always be as a second thought for all of us. Like we would be in a situation maybe like 2 years from now that, data is a default, like no matter where we are. I think that should be a thing.
Mr. Kumar, there is a tremendous cost which all of our telecom operators have to incur in order to stretch, for example, fiber lines to remote areas. Given the terrain of our country, mountains, forests, etc., does Jio and Wi-Fi tying up with Starlink essentially mean a situation where they would save a lot in terms of actual physical infrastructure being set up in some of these difficult, challenging areas, rely on Starlink and therefore provide last-mile connectivity?
Yeah, just about a couple of months back, I heard Mr. Sunil Mittal saying in some conferences that just 5% of the population is left out of this mobile coverage. But they reside in 25% of the location in India. So that is a challenge. They are not able to reach out to those remote areas. Existing telecom operators is a huge cost for them. It would be easy for them if they go via Starlink. They have huge networks of satellites. 6,500 is not small numbers. So they are having good coverage at 100 miles per hour speed. Also, they claim that they provide guaranteed speed. So that is the kind of quality they are providing. Our existing networks, the existing incumbent, they are providing that mobile services. Totally, the quality has gone haywire. It's the moment you switch on this network, make a normal call, doesn't work. Try on WhatsApp, maybe sometimes it works, but there is a huge challenge in quality of services. But with Starlink, I think the moment this network is in place, the rollout takes place, license is given. The main challenge presently is about satellite spectrum for satellite that has not been allocated.
Sure.
Already Jio and Airtel, they have the license, but spectrum they don't have. They cannot provide service.
No, so there is a process. There is certainly a process that lies ahead. Yeah, 1 second, sir. Gaurav, you had a point to make. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, we are all talking about the difficult terrains of the country and, like how Starlink would be useful. But let's not forget all about like how it's useful in the sea as well. We have a huge community of fishermen. They go in deep sea many a times, and network is a huge challenge. So even for them, if they have a Starlink dish on their boats, it will give them that connectivity wherein they are in deep sea, let's say in case of emergency or normal communication. Starlink would be useful there as well.
Jiten, final point to you. Beyond the security concerns you raised, do you not believe that this could be a game changer in rural areas to have genuine connectivity which is available to people? Again, telemedicine is just one area. AI and agriculture is another area that comes to my mind.
No, agriculture, common service center for public service deliveries. Now they will have connectivity in every gram, every panchayat, and this is going to be a golden age for journalists, hikers. I mean, yesterday I saw a video of a guy who had assembled Starlink in a backpack, and he tagged Elon Musk that this is the first trial of modifying Starlink to fit in a backpack, and he was moving around on a bicycle, and the video quality was good. It was a little patchy, but it worked. So going forward, maybe a year down the line, you will see all the journalists who land up anywhere. You don't need this, backpack with SIM cards and all. Any journalist could carry a small Wi-Fi, backpack with Starlink, and you'll be able to broadcast live coverage of any event anywhere across the world. Maybe from Mount Everest to seas to deserts of Rajasthan, but it is going to be a huge game changer in relief operations, especially in earthquake landslides where the mobile connectivities or any sort of communication channels are completely lost. So now you will have not only mobile and voice connectivity but also data connectivity. So I think for relief operations and journalists, Starlink is going to bring a golden age.
Jitin, you make an interesting point. When I started in this business, we didn't have OB vans in India. We used to run around with tapes and then feed it. It used to go to the satellite. Then we had OB vans, which by the time COVID arrived became very difficult to deploy everywhere. So people relied a lot more on backpacks, which rely on SIM cards, essentially taking SIM cards from different providers, condensing the signal, strengthening the signal. That goes to satellite, and that's what you can see. And now what we are saying is something as big as this, maybe not as thin as this piece of paper, but essentially as large as this, doesn't weigh very much. And, it broadcasts in decent quality, excellent quality, perhaps even 4K quality. That being the case...
So for a TV channel, Vishnu, for a TV channel to have, imagine, instead of having 20 OP vans, you could now have 20,000 Starlink dishes at the same cost. Can you imagine the number, the fraction of cost which you would need to operate?
And the connectivity that would ensure. It would revolutionize journalism, right? I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us. I think the possibilities are absolutely immense, but I think the points which Jitin made on security are something that we're going to have to look at very, very closely indeed. Thank you all very much for being with us.